If you've ever been to kindergarten, you probably remember the excitement of show and tell day. It's the perfect chance to bring your coolest possession to school and show it off to all your friends. Now, imagine a classmate standing at the front of the room, talking on and on about an incredibly detailed toy spaceship they built. But there's a problem. Their hands are completely empty. They can describe the toy for hours, but without actually bringing the spaceship to class, the rest of the kids are going to have a hard time believing it exists. A writer in the New Testament named James uses a very similar idea. He wrote an entire letter to early Christians that describes a spiritual version of this classroom game. Except instead of trying to prove we have a shiny new toy, James is asking us how we prove we have faith in God. Faith is completely invisible. You can't just pack it into your backpack. James explains that while we might start with what we say, God is looking for the show part of show and tell. He's telling us that our belief only becomes real to the world through our actions. To explain how this works, James gives his readers a specific test. He asks them to imagine two completely different people walking into a community gathering at the exact same time. The first person is clearly very wealthy. They are dressed in expensive clothes and wearing a flashy gold ring. The second person is poor. Their clothes are old, dirty, and worn out. James points out a common, deeply flawed reaction. People will rush to greet the wealthy person, offering them the most comfortable seat in the room. Then they will tell the poor person to just stand off to the side, or even sit down on the floor by their feet. This kind of favoritism violates a core teaching that James calls the royal law. It is a simple, overarching rule found in Scripture: love your neighbor as yourself. When we treat a rich person better than a poor person, we break that law. James calls this a sin. By showing favoritism, we set ourselves up as unfair judges, guilty of breaking God's rules. True faith means showing God's love equally to everyone. It requires us to prove that we do not judge others based on what they wear or how much they own. James provides a second practical test. This time, imagine coming across someone in your community who is freezing cold and hasn't eaten in days. You look at them and say, "Go in peace, keep warm, and I hope you get a good meal." Then you walk away without handing them a coat or offering them a single bite of food. Those nice words sound comforting, but they are completely useless. Good intentions do not put calories in a starving person's stomach, and warm thoughts cannot block the freezing wind. James summarizes this problem with a direct principle. Let's look at this equation. If you claim to have faith, but subtract physical actions from it, the result is dead. Faith by itself is dead. We can reverse that math. When we add actions to our belief, our faith becomes alive. To prove this, James points to famous historical figures from the Old Testament, like Abraham, the father of the Israelite nation, and Rahab, a woman living in the city of Jericho. We remember them as heroes because they took massive physical risks. Abraham was willing to sacrifice his own son, and Rahab risked her life to hide Israelite spies. They put their bodies and their futures on the line. Their inner belief and their outward actions worked together as an inseparable team. That specific combination is what showed they were living exactly the way God wanted them to live. Let's bring this back to that kindergarten classroom. Acknowledging that God is real, going to church, or saying you believe in Jesus, that is the tell portion of the game. It is incredibly easy to say. James gives a blunt warning here. Just knowing God exists is not a special accomplishment. Even demons know that there is one God. They believe it, and they shudder in fear. Belief alone does not make you right with God. The show part of the game happens in how we live every single day. It requires practicing kindness, treating people fairly, and actively putting the needs of our neighbors ahead of our own. It looks like taking off your own jacket to give it to someone shivering at the bus stop, or maybe sitting down and sharing your lunch with a classmate who simply doesn't have anything to eat. Take a look around your own life today. Find one specific opportunity to step up and meet a physical need for someone else. When we step in and care for others in a tangible way, we finally bring our spaceship to class. We give the world the undeniable visual proof of our faith.